Please stand. Welcome everyone here in Cainsville today for this grand opening ceremony of this new facility. Special note with us today is our Mayor David Bailey, Councilors Brian Coleman, Joan Gatward, Robert Chambers, John Bell, and David Miller. Did I miss any that showed up? John Week. He's shaking his head and one's pointing at him. We have Acting Inspector Andrea Cainsville, is that correct? She's from our Brant County detachment of the OPP. City of Brantford and Six Nations are on the agenda. Do we get representation? Councillor McCreary, sorry. And with us today also is a representative from the Venton Group, the architect for these projects, and Abcott Construction, the general contractor. Very good. The County of Brant Fire Department answers 1,000 or more calls every year. This Cainsville station will field over 100 of them on their own, give or take. Do you know how many of these calls the public expects perfection from? All of them. Thank you. I was hoping somebody knew the answer to that very simple question. But it goes to show that nobody calls 911 asking the fire department to send me a couple of dimwits in a pickup truck with a fire extinguisher. When they call, they're looking for a crew of brain surgeon decathlon champions to come and serve them on their worst of days. In order to strive to meet this level of perfection, many pillars are required. One of the obvious ones is a home base for the fire station. Somewhere strategically located, sized appropriately, and functional in every aspect. Some time ago, it was acknowledged that the old station for Cainsville was reaching its functional life. From there, our elected officials and senior county staff worked hard to address this issue. With the guidance of Venton Group and the hard work of Abcott Construction, this structure was raised, prepped for battle to serve the Cainsville firefighters in the community that they protect. As I mentioned, today is the grand opening of this Cainsville Fire Hall, and we thank you all for being with us today. At this time, it is my pleasure to welcome Mayor David Bailey to the podium for his remarks.
Well, thank you for inviting me here today, and on behalf of the County of Brant Council, I bring greetings. This is our third opening of 3 fire halls in about 6 weeks. And every one of them has been distinctively different, but the common denominator is that they've been needed and they've been wanted, and they're the right size, and they fill all the blanks that were missing from all the old fire halls. I got a chance to tour some of the old fire halls, and when you see equipment sitting on the floor with no place to air it out, no place for people to come together and talk and meet. There was no real kitchen facilities. There was no place to shower and clean up. There was no common space that they could just gather and relax and unwind from whatever they've just been here to do, whether it's an active call or if it's a training piece or if it's just a meeting of the minds. There wasn't enough room. It didn't seem quite as professional as it needed to seem. And the nice part about this station is because it's in the corner of the county, which is Cainsville, which it has a lot of the county's attention right now. It's I think an underserviced area that has now found its place in the map of the County of Brant, as you see the building next door. So as Cainsville flourishes and grows, which it is doing, whether you know it or not, the side roads are all ablaze with conversations and things going on all over Cainsville. So we're here to supply you with the tools that you need to succeed as a community. we're not sorry it took this long, because it needed to take this long before we had the money to do it properly. So I'm not making any apologies that you didn't get it any earlier, because luckily I've been able to be the mayor of a very successful county at a very prosperous time. So we as a county have not had to say no to projects very often, because we do have the money off the back of development. And during COVID, with the help of the Ford government, we were given enough money from the COVID funding to not only keep us going, but to actually continue to run this county as a business. We were given enough money, and for that we're truly grateful. Councillor Mr. Bauma, we understand that you did bring a lot to the county during a couple of very, very tricky years. So whether the current government is your choice or not, they were very good to your people and to your county. So know that moving forward. I would also like to say thank you to the firefighters themselves, because it's not as if somebody decides one day they're going to be a firefighter in the County of Brant. This is generational. This is something that people do. Their grandfather did it, maybe even their great-grandfather did it, and their father did it, and now they're doing it. And you know, when you see their little kids running around with little plastic fireman hats going on, you can tell that it's very important. And that's not by chance that all that happens. That's for the love of your community, the love of the county, and the importance of keeping your friends and your neighbors safe. And it's never been more apparent to me than the County of Brant with their fire service. You do it right. You always have the support of council, not just this council, because I'm the mayor. You've always had the support of the Brant County Council from other councils before me. Don't forget, the County of Brant is only 21 years old. You've only ever had 2 mayors, and I can tell you both the mayors, the biggest thing we had in common, Mayor Eddie and I, is that he always supported the fire services. So know that you have our support, you have our attention, and if you ever need anything, please don't think you need to go without anything, even for a minute. Make sure that you get your counselors involved. In your case, Brian and Joan, let them know what you need and we'll get it done. Thank you very much.
Your leadership and support on this project, as well as the fire service in general, is always greatly appreciated. Our own member of provincial parliament, Will Boma, and pager-carrying St. George firefighter. He doesn't always say that, so I'll make sure everybody knows he's playing both sides today, but he definitely understands where we're coming from in the fire service, and I think he represents us well when needed.
I thought he was going to say that I was double dipping, but I don't think so. I don't think, Jeff, this isn't a paid gig, is it? For the firefighters to be here today?
You submit it and I can approve it.
I am not submitting anything. But it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I guess the first thing that I have to say for every active duty volunteer firefighter who's here today, on behalf of the province of Ontario, the Premier, and our new Solicitor General, the Honourable Mr. Kurtzner, thank you. When we show up with these things and with the red lights on, the people who we serve are usually having the worst day of their life. And you stop what you're doing. You leave your jobs, you leave your families, you drive out here, you hop in a truck, you don't always know exactly what you're getting into, and you go. Thank you. It means the world. And that's why it's such a great pleasure to see this building become a reality, just as the other ones that we've been to over the last couple of weeks, because we owe it to you to have a safe place to work where you can have clean equipment and clean gear and a good place to do what you have to do. And if I could, I just wanted to say hats off to Chief Haymon for the excellent work that he's done, because we've seen so many of our number go through cancer and all those things, and the idea that there's so many more things that we could do. And then I have to say thank you to Council, Mayor, for supporting that vision of having the proper equipment, cleaning equipment, the second set of bunker gear that's coming in order to make that happen. And so I'd like to thank Council for that and for your leadership on making those things happen, Jeff. I really appreciate that. It is incredible, and we do that when you give your heart and your soul to your community, to see that community grow and change. And this is part of that. And the community center that's going in right next door is a part of that. And the leadership that's been shown by council to see that need for our communities is commendable. Thank you, sir. Because it really means a lot on the ground to know that your elected officials see the needs here too. And so it's a great, great pleasure to be here. It's so wonderful to be able to celebrate this growth in the community and for the opportunity. And when I see the turnout of people that are here to celebrate with us, we see what it means to be here today. And as the mayor said, you tell what your needs are and we take care of it. And the work that we can do together, when we work together to get good things done for our communities, I think this community is unstoppable. And so it's a pleasure to be here today. And again, I would honor every single person who's here in uniform. And I apologize, Inspector, that firefighters, and we really do and enjoy that. But I think also part of that, and to the colleagues at the Brant OPP station too, it doesn't matter what we've been to. When we're driving back, small kids will stop and wave to the fire trucks going by. And the police officers don't always have that. But to the Brant County OPP also, and again, to council, thank you for taking that matter in hand. I know it was a long time coming. I know it was a lot of councils that did that work, but it was this council that made these things happen. And so it is good to have a safe place to work with enough room to do what you have to do. And again, on behalf of the province of Ontario and the Premier and our Solicitor General, thank you for your work and congratulations on this incredible new facility. And if I can get this piece of paper back in here, I'll just put the scroll here on the table. Thank you.
From the city of Brantford, Councillor from Ward 3, Dan McCreary.
Great to be here today. Thank you for the invitation. It's so nice to see so many friends that I've worked with over the years on so many things that our communities have cooperated with. And one of the things we cooperate with in a big way is supporting the three pillars of public safety: police, fire, and ambulance. And we share costs on those. We have mutual assistance. And it's a demonstration of the partner prosperity thing that we went through many years ago. And city and county have a great relationship. On behalf of Mayor Davis, Council, it's great for me to be here today. Mayor sends his regrets. He'd love to have been here, but I'm glad he's not. I get a chance to mingle with some folks I haven't seen for a long time. One of the things that both communities have done, and you guys have really led the way, new police station, 3 new fire halls. We've followed suit. Everything you do, we try to catch up with, right? So we're doing a new police station. We did the number 2 fire hall. And it's a way that we can not only make sure that our community is well protected, but it's a way to demonstrate our support for the 3 legs of public safety. In both communities, I'm sure you guys know how much we value what you do for us. And as Councillor Boma said, and the Mayor Eddie, we support you guys, and you look after us on the worst days of our lives. So again, thanks very much for letting me be here today. Pleasure to be in your company. And it's nice, as in my community, to come out and help celebrate your really big days and your accomplishments. And I don't think anybody else is here from the city of Brantford. So I can say I really envy the way you guys do so much with so little in terms of financing. We could learn a lesson or two. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor McCreary. Councillor Nathan Wright is on the agenda. Did he join us? No? So we can accept his regrets. Councillors Joan Gatward and Brian Coleman.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending today. We've been blessed again with beautiful weather for our 3rd grand opening of this beautiful new Cainsville Fire Hall. Former Brantford Township constructed the initial fire hall, which was strategically placed here in the thriving industrial area of Cainsville. It served the very busy Highway 2, our area farms, and all of our residents, as well as the industry. When the new 403 was completed, Cainsville Station became an even more vital part of the fire service within Brant County, also serving a new area of the 403 in the east. With the passage of time, the fire service has seen many, many changes, and the new trucks now easily fit in this hall with room to move around and work efficiently. I'd like to recognize former District Chief Alan Carver and his wife Joanne, who are here today. They played a large part in the memorial monument that's found out on the front lawn, honoring those who have served before you. And I'd also like to thank Chief Haymon for all his 38 years of service in the County of Brant. Jeff, we're going to miss you. I also want to thank the firemen and women of Cainsville Station for your dedication, for your commitment, and your courage in serving your community, providing leadership, and agreeing to be a training site here. And this is quite an interesting facility. I had a chance to go in there before we met in here. And it seems to me a few years back, there was a team of firefighters from here at Cainsville that won high recognition in a provincial skills competition. And I was extremely proud to read that in the news. I know how vital our local fire halls are, providing the emergency services we need. And Cainsville, being a key location, serves the County of Brant very well. And I want to congratulate you on your beautiful new hall, which will serve this community, the County of Brant, for decades to come. Welcome home.
I do expect fresh words, nothing repeated from the last 2 times.
You got it right. A little standing joke between Brent and I was seeing him the other day, and I told him if he needed to write a little different speech, because I've heard it twice and I don't want to hear it again. So he has changed it quite a bit from Scotland to Onondaga and now here to Cainsville. Welcome, everybody. What a great turnout we have here today in Cainsville. I didn't know what we would have, what we would get today, but much appreciated by everybody. Special thanks to all the Cainsville firemen and ladies that do the honor of serving this end of the county. Much appreciated. Will Bowman mentioned it, that every once in a while you have the unfortunate luck that you have to have these people on your property. They were at my place 10 years ago on a mutual aid call, and I haven't forgot. Much appreciated. Anyhow, there's a lot of rich history in the Cainsville area, and I didn't know what I was going to say today. And Will asked me how I was going to top Joan's speech, and I said, well, I'll wing it. But when I walked around here before, and I looked at the books over there, and I thought, gee, Chief Nelson, Bob Moffett. Now that goes back to my era, 50 years ago. But they bring back a lot of memories and a lot of history in the township of Brantford with 4 fire departments: Cainsville, Mount Pleasant, Airport, and former Tranquility. You guys have done a great job, guys and gals. Got to get used to that. I'm from the old school. But you've done a great job. But I want to really do is this my last chance to say this, and is thank our staff for getting this done. Michael Bradley, our CAO. Cindy Stevenson is not here today. She has another family engagement. Jeff Haymon. And the rest of the crew that did a great job. Thank you for organizing this. I know you took some heat from some of us counselors to get this job done. Michael, you're smiling. We had the odd conversation about this. And it was not an easy task getting 3 halls going all at once. And I think back how we started with this hall. Nobody knew what we were going to do. Cainsville needed a new hall. We needed a new community hall. Where are we going to go? The hall going to go here, fire hall going to stay here, we build on the old site. Well, then we get into problems like we had in Onondaga. You move everything out. Doesn't always work. This seemed to work when this property come available, and as the mayor has pointed out,
We got a new community hall being built. I will put a plug in for this. There is a fundraising team going on. If anybody wants to lead the donation with me, I have cards in my truck, so I'll be glad to accept it. So anyhow, much appreciated. Thank you, everybody here in Cainsville. Well done.
So yeah, the overall vision and support from all our elected officials is obviously very appreciated. It does bring projects like this together. Even though some people give heat and take heat through the process, we persevere and jobs get done. So I think we need to acknowledge all of our elected officials that are here today and worked on this project behind the scenes. Beyond the pillars of political, management, and public support, I've found there are 5 pillars that stand for members to gauge themselves against: knowledge, skill, humility, wellness, and mettle. Knowledge of all things related to emergency response and preparedness, knowing every detail of every asset housed in this building. Skill, the ability to apply knowledge in the field, which requires endless training, repetition, and experience. What better a place to hone skills than right here in this new facility? Humility, recognition of the constant need for improvement. Assets age. Sometimes the best way to improve is rebuild, not only to meet the needs of today, but to also acknowledge further growth, and change is always inevitable going into the future. The training center out back was not part of the original plans. Being on a new site, we had this little extra room built in. That's all part of planning for the future. A facility became available not too far away. Next thing you know, it finds a home in the county, and it's a great asset for everybody to train in. So I've been in it myself. I've talked to lots of people who've been in it. It's fairly central, so it works well that way. But we had the room. It wasn't a big deal to move forward. So I don't think you had room at the former site. Did you, DC Cummerson? Give up some parking lots? Or, yeah. Wellness, both mental and physical. It has came up a few times today, and I'm sure you will hear these points again. Features of this project were included for that very sole purpose: the wellness and safety of our firefighters. Gear rooms, specialized cleaning equipment, and a genuine support for culture change around the cleanliness of everything that goes to front line when called upon. For too long, the badge of a firefighter was a shiny truck and battle-stained gear. Armed with knowledge of the pitfalls of this mindset, a new skill set of respect towards keeping ourselves in the same state of cleanliness and readiness as our rigs is promoted here in many aspects of this new station. Mettle, the ability to face difficult situations. Facing challenges is what the fire service does. Be it personnel, equipment, buildings, trucks, and of course emergencies are all potential challenges that are met head on in a moment's notice with success as the end goal. It is worth noting, and I might have to get our OPP to cover their ears for a minute. I've heard it said before, and I think it kind of fits in here, that when somebody calls 911, if the operator's not sure who to send, they usually send the fire service. They're generally the ones who can figure it out and start to move it forward. Doesn't mean we don't need OPP's help or ambulance or all those other pillars, but we seem to be the lucky ones who get that. We're not sure, send the firefighters, they'll figure it out. We've all been on those very calls. These pillars all come together to form a functional team of individuals with true firemanship as the common goal. At the top of the operational team is Fire Chief Jeff Haymon. With his regrets today, Deputy Chief Darren Watson. I understand it's his birthday. He must have been afraid I was going to sing. Our secretary in the office, Lori Tipler. Administrative Assistant Leanne Thompson. Fire Prevention Officers Tom Walschmidt and Doug Kellum. Not to forget our General Manager, Cindy Stevenson, and her Administrative Coordinator, Joanne DaCosta. Joanne has worked through 3 of these now in the background. I don't even pick her out. Where are you hiding, Joanne? Everybody's there, she is. Joanne's kept everybody in line and got things organized and made sure we were all prepared. So I will like to welcome Chief Haymon to the front, but first, and I'll put this out before you speak as a courtesy. I had to think back to a little story as to how I personally ended up here with you today and for the other 2 open houses. Apparently some time ago, Jeff, Darren, and Joanne sat down to brainstorm 3 grand openings. Oddly enough, none of them offered themselves to MC the event. Joanne said, "We need someone who would nail every detail perfectly and be able to hold and follow and remember a schedule." Darren put some thought into it and said they needed someone with the ability to word everything perfectly so that nothing was missed. Chief Haymon decided all he needed was an individual who still fit in their uniform post-COVID, was always clean-shaven and on time. Needless to say, after I was asked 3 times, I accepted. Chief Haymon.
I guess before we get started, there's a health and safety issue we need to take care of. We got a couple of trip hazards here. Well, I saw someone kick the hose and I thought, well, you got 2 for 2. A renewed beginning is a good description of what is here now. When Brantford Township began operations in 1956, the Cainsville station was a third of 4 halls constructed. Small and compact, the hall was a basic facility, basically a small meeting room, office, and a couple of little carports, if you wish to call it that. Eventually, the community center was attached, and that format remained the same, basically unchanged for 65 years. In that time frame, a lot has changed. It was referred to as legacy firefighting. A typical living room fire with furniture dating from the 1950s would take 29 minutes to reach the stage where everything was on fire. Flashover. Nowadays, it takes 3 minutes or less. Smoke from the fire in a legacy furnace was bad enough. Now firefighters have to protect themselves from the carcinogenic byproducts that permeate the smoke. Training may have involved running a few scenarios, watching maybe an overhead projector, and then listening to an instructor. Now we have mandated skills and knowledge that are legislated to meet the needs of the expanded service. Online resources, use of audiovisual equipment for theory and training sessions, improved health and safety are all a component of supporting the provision of service. Looking behind me, you can think that fire apparatus have also changed immensely. Alan, I'm going to look at you. The original 1956 International D165 pumper, complete with a split axle 5-speed and a non-synchronized transmission, was about half the size of these things. Right? The first tanker was a converted milk truck. So now the new trucks, they meet standards, they have capabilities, and a lot more. As was said, eventually with the industrial occupancies out here, you'll probably see an aerial truck in these bays. The old station had some challenges, designed for 12 firefighters. Now you got 28 men and women. There was 6 inches to the front bumper to the overhead doors. Sometimes less, sometimes a lot less, right? And about 3 feet at the back. The kitchen and shower and the bathroom were compact. It was about 3 by 3. You had the toilet, the shower, the sink, the washroom, the closet, everything else was in one spot. And at one point, the center pillar between the truck bays needed reinforcement after a slight mishap. So those that were here can remember that. I think Mike Smith, yourself, Corey, you remember that? Limited space for cleaning trucks, as said, decontamination of equipment and the lack of washrooms and shower facilities. The building had outlived its functional ability to serve. The old hall at 12 Garnet has now been repurposed as an ambulance base. So it's still there. The station we're in now represents a huge, incredible leap forward. The other two halls that were built concurrently, I would expect over time, will have modifications and changes made that will need to adapt to the service requirements of the future, not only for the firefighters, but the needs of the community. That capability was built into this building. The training room is complemented by the training tower. Functional internet and networking is provided. These items did not exist on this site in 2020. As provincially legislated skills and knowledge standards come into effect, July 1st, which is next Friday. This facility will be the centerpiece of training and skills development far into the next decade. And I hope over time additional props and training aids will be added to the enhanced facility. With the recognition of importance of health and safety, specifically in the prevention of illness directed to the hazards we faced, this station now can provide for reduced exposures and proper decontamination. Washing down hose or equipment can be accomplished at 3 o'clock in the morning on a February morning in the middle of a blizzard. A hot shower after completing overhaul at a ravaged building removes the soot and grime. Bunker gear is stored in a manner that removes the potential of diesel exhaust. The gear extractors remove the contaminants from the fabric of the bunker gear. Through all of this, we must not forget the firefighters that have lost the battle. Inevitably, names will be added to the memorial stone out front. There's a common element here. The buildings that house the apparatus, train the firefighters, and take care of their health and safety have changed immensely. The old building has had serious challenges. Similar buildings were replaced in Burford in 1992, St. George in 95, Paris in 2002, and Mount Pleasant in 2011. We have one left to do. But a building is not a station, is not a fire station without the people who make it a fire station. The people that have served here before in Cainsville include Harold and Chuck, Murray, Alan, Mark, Michael, Troy, Dave, just to name a few. I'd like to thank Council very much for supporting these common facilities. The whole project, as was said, was complicated, filled with unforeseen detours and speed bumps, and all this was done during the restrictions of COVID. I'd like to extend my appreciation to municipal staff that has made this day work, Joanne, and to all current and past members of the fire service, your dedication to the community and to each other. For when others are running out, you're running in. Finally, to the current Cainsville crew, take good care of you all. It'll take care of you.
Thank you, Chief Haymon, for your words. And again, your leadership and dedication to these projects. I know the wellness side is a big part of the drive for this, and you felt very strongly about that, and council supported everything that you brought forward. So it's needed to be done. From the top of the team here in Cainsville, as we keep hearing talk of, we have District Chief Wade Cummerson, and I believe he has one or two things to say.
Good day. I'm Wade. I lead that bunch at the back, or they work their tails off with me at the front. They make it worth being here. It's a common element I've found in speeches this morning is the past. So, the original Cainsville station, built in 1956 to 12 men. Bear with me, okay? I'm going to use some terms here that are obsolete. I got to put these on, or I can't read. All right. Used to have a siren on the roof. Siren sounded. Men would come running to the station, get on the truck, where we actually rode on the tailboard with their patch coats and hats and boots. Held onto a leather strap so they didn't fall off. You might end up with one or two less at the scene. All right. Years passed. The big siren on the roof became obsolete, and they had a call box. Call box would be taken home by the duty officer for that week. Call would come in, he would have to take the phone and call the other firefighters to respond. Sometimes leaving that job to their wife so that they could respond to the call. More time passed. We grew a little bit more. We went from a call box to a pager. And I can remember Uncle Alan's first pager was about this big, like a brick on the side. So it would go off, they would respond. Soon, trucks grew up. They got a little bit bigger. So now they could hold 2 or 3 men in the cab, and we weren't allowed to ride the tailboards anymore. We lost one too many. So years passed on. Trucks became smaller. Station became smaller. Well, station stayed the same size. Everybody else got bigger in many ways. Early 90s, early 2000s, or late 90s, early 2000s, our dynamics changed. It was no longer 12 men. We started hiring our first female firefighters. In a building designed for 8 men or 12 men with 1 washroom, 1 shower, 1 common area, this soon did not fit the compliancy of what needs to be there. We delved through. We pushed on. We now have this nice, new, beautiful station with 3 bays where I don't have to shuffle along the side of the truck to get to my bunker gear to put on. I can walk in a room that's pressurized and safe. We now have showers and bathrooms for men and women, so no more shared accommodations. And more spaces to do things. A training room that'll hold as many people that are down here today to learn how to be firefighters, learn their skills, and hone their skills. We also acquired the training tower, which allowed us to now practice those skills on a regular basis. We used to have to wait for an acquired structure or improvise stuff in the station base to practice our skills. Now we don't have to. Somebody invite the ice cream truck. Through all these changes, the one thing that always remained the same, will not change, is the dedication of the firefighters within. We've honed our skills enough that most of our people have moved on and joined career departments and still remain and serve us in these communities and bring their skill sets from there to here, or some in occasions from here to there. I'm one of those. I've seen it go both ways. When I started my career department, there was a lot of doubt that I was just a volunteer guy. What did I know? We know just as much as they do. We train just as hard as they do. Just one thing that brought this group together, 2 things. Over the last couple of years, we lost 2 of our leaders to cancer. Troy, my brother, and Dave Monkhouse, 2 great guys that started this leadership and promotion it down to the ranks. That group of people at the back of this room pulled together and made those occasions something to remember. Something new this year that we're endorsing with the endorsement of the chief and council and Cindy and Michael Bradley is we're going to start introducing some new firefighters, some new people to firefighting as a lifestyle or a career. There are some of them that are here with us today. They signed up, they went through the process, they got admitted in. We're running what we call Camp Phoenix. It's a camp for young girls between the ages of 14 to 18. Some of those girls are in this room. I was not there on the selection. I don't know faces. So if you could stand up, girls, or put a hand up. These girls are going to go through a 5-day camp where they're going to learn how to be maybe a firefighter, maybe a fire prevention officer, maybe an OFM officer in investigations and stuff like that, another career path. In our communications end of things, they're going to get exposed to all of it, to know that firefighting is not just a male environment for being a career choice. Hopefully we open some dreams. Lastly, I want to thank my crew. Without them, this doesn't take place. It takes more than one person to put out a fire and work out a fire or any other emergency we get called to. And a big thank you to their supporting half, husbands, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends. Without them allowing you to leave, doesn't not allow this to happen very easily. So, thank you all. Thank you. Enjoy your day.
You and your family here are true caretakers of this building and the amazing services provided from it. I think it's only proper if we take a moment to acknowledge all the past, present, and possibly future firefighters that are wearing the badge that says Cainsville. We really can't say thank you enough to yourselves and your families that support. It was said once, and we kind of alluded to it, one person in the household wears a pager, but everybody's a member. Everybody's involved when the calls come in. With us today, and hopefully feeling better from last week, from the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office, Protection Advisor Rick Finnemore.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Your Worship, Assorted Chiefs, Mr. Huma. Well, what can I say? How do I put this? I don't know if you know me. I've been around for a few years, and I tend to think metaphorically about things and what are things like? And you know, when I come to new station openings like this, one of the things I come up with is the fact that it's very similar to a new child. You want to have a new child in your family, so you start doing the planning for it, and you put various things together. One of the questions you have as new parents is, can we afford this? And when I've said those things over the years, it's usually resonated because it is similar to that. There's so many things to think of, so many things. But you know what? I have to tell you, coming into the County of Brant, this is the first time that I can draw a metaphor like that to say that you've had, what, triplets now? I don't think there's been no other municipality I've been in that have opened 3 within 3 weekends. And you know, the other thing I thought, and it's true, I unfortunately had to miss last weekend, but you know, coming out of the last couple of years that we have, it's made us very aware of how that can happen. You know, I didn't expect that I was going to get sick last weekend. I fully planned to be in Onondaga. I have memories from Onondaga too that I would have liked to share there. But then I got hit with it, what I got hit with, and it reminded me that, you know, life is sometimes fleeting. You know, it comes and it goes, and you have to grab when you can. And so these kinds of events for me, I will tell you, is always a privilege and an honor. I've always said it, I'll always say it. I started in the fire service back in 1980, and I remember the days of the leather straps and pull-up boots and patch coats. That was my introduction to what firefighting was back then. And it's evolved and changed so much over the years. And it's interesting, when I moved down here, I started with the office back in 1988, and being a city kid, of course, from Toronto area in Scarborough, I was introduced very quickly to the value of volunteers and the great dedication and heart that everybody puts into that. And I started to see it up in the north, and I moved from Kenora to Thunder Bay, and then I found out there's something, I can come south again. And being a city kid and essentially a tourist in that sense, I got the opportunity to move down to Brantford. And what I didn't realize was the great historic background that this whole area has. I mean, this relates to so many things, this area, including its fire service. You know, I've worked for, I think, 8 or 9 fire marshals now. And there's been interactions between this area of the province, County of Brant, Brant County, including the former departments, with our office all the way back. I have an old article that talked about the mutual aid system that was in one of the firefighting magazines. I think Chief Haymon, I probably sent you a copy of it. And it just showed the interaction between the Brantford, the city, and the various counties and municipalities in the county, how they work together to bring that all together. And then where I cut my teeth on this kind of event, the very first time I came down, and you'll remember this was, I mentioned it at the Scotland station, was to honor a chief who'd retired after 55 years of service. That's the kind of dedication that I know that this group has. I've seen it as your advisor, and I've been here a long time, and even the predecessors are from this area. My immediate predecessor with the Office of the Fire Marshal was Bill Jones, who was a Brantford firefighter. And one of the colleagues I had over time was a gentleman named Tom Everett, who was also a Brantford firefighter. What an incredible set of skills that they brought from being in this area. This is what you gave to them. The other thing I wanted to do, and I appreciate the opportunity to really be here today, was to recognize Chief Haymon. Chief Haymon can remember the first time that we met at a mutual aid meeting. And you know, it is written that, and it is a great strong principle that we need to honor those to whom honor is due. And so part of that is to honor Jeff in his, perhaps our last official function together. You know, Jeff remembers the work that we did together over the years. I was involved when the county came together, the multiple municipalities into one. I was here, Councillor Gatwood, you'll remember, in some of the reviews that looked at these stations, the original stations, and started to see the need for a station like this being built. And so it's been my privilege to be a part of that. I didn't do the work. I was on the sideline doing the cheerleading. I was like the latest metaphor I've come up with for our positions as advisors. We're kind of like family doctor. You know, we take in the information, we see what you need, and then we see if there's a specialist that we might send you to. But the whole thing is that it's so wonderful to see what you're doing. I really appreciate the work that several councils now have done to bring this all together. That's wonderful. As an advisor, that's the kind of thing I look for in communities. And you know, it is an influence, and I've mentioned this to many of you before. You have a great influence because when I talk with other departments, I can refer back to this department and the great things they've done here. You know that this event, this kind of thing, will be mentioned to other fire services in my area in the province. And my coverage area now runs from Niagara to Windsor. And you are mentioned with honor always. So on behalf of the Fire Marshal, John Pegg, and the current acting Fire Marshal, Tim Beckett, it's certainly my privilege. There is a plaque. I will be careful. Chief Haymon, could you come up? And you may as well come up too, and whoever else you feel that would be appropriate. Sure. If I may present it to the County of Brant, Fire Chief Jeff Haymon, and members of the County of Brant Fire Department in recognition of the official opening of Fire Station 4, Cainsville,